Hi, it's Kathy. Welcome back to my craft room. Come on in. I saved you a spot. We are going to do something a little bit fun today. We are going to tear some paper. So here are some of the rulers that I like to use for tearing. This is a metal ruler with the cork back. I like that because it stays put. It doesn't slide around. Until you get to a smaller piece of paper, then you might want to flip that over just so you have better contact. Your paper doesn't slide around underneath. But a larger piece of paper, this is definitely. And then these are We Are Memory Keepers. Tear guides are called. So these are kind of gargantuan size obvious tears. I don't use those, but I do quite like that decal edge on that one. That's a nice one to use from time to time. And then of course you can take a plastic ruler from the dollar store and you can make your edge jagged so that you have a tear ruler to use. So I also have a little metal ruler, a tiny one that I got in a thrift bag, like one of those grab bags from thrifting. And I was really happy to find that. So that's very handy when I'm doing smaller pieces for tears. So we're going to do two things. We're going to do this collage board, and then we're actually going to do some tearing in a already assembled journal. That's where the fear part comes. So to me, this is the joy part. This is the fear part for some. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we'll talk a little bit about the psychology of it as well. So I grabbed some papers from the Teresa kit. I have some nice contrasting papers as well, just for this. So when I'm tearing, because I know for some people, we love this sound, and I am going to recognize that there are some people that cannot stand the sound of paper tearing. I have a condition called hyperacusis, and if you have it or you know someone that has it, and you feel misunderstood about your condition, I'd be happy to talk to you because I've dealt with that all my life. But yes, I won't get into it too much, but I'm just really glad that tearing paper is one of those sounds that doesn't bother me unless someone else is tearing paper. If I'm in control and I know that sound's coming, it's like my brain's prepared for it. It's actually a soothing sound. But if I were to sit and listen to somebody else tear paper, I might crawl out of my skin. So if you have hyperacusis, and if you know what that is, then if you want to chat, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. So that aside, I saw a gentleman the other day at the shopping, an elderly gentleman, and he had on noise canceling headphones, and I just wanted to go up and hug him because I get it. I totally get it. All right, let me see here. Yeah, so while I'm tearing, I'll turn the volume down a little bit, but I want to start with some bigger chunks of paper for this collage. Okay, of course, the other thing is when you're tearing paper, you can always just tear with your hands too. It doesn't have to be with a ruler, but today I'm doing ruler tearing. And I will just say one thing about tearing paper by hand, just as a reminder. The piece you pull forward, you get the colored edge, and the piece that goes to the back as you're pulling, that's where you get the white edge. So if you are tearing around something and you're putting your thumb around, for example, if you wanted to tear around here and move your thumb slowly as you're tearing around, remember, if you don't want to see the white, turn it in the direction so that the piece that's coming towards you, so all this edge would be the colored edge, not the white edge. It's just something about tearing paper. And it's just one of those simple little things, like I said, that has joy and fear, like all in the same moment. The joy comes from that little spark of freedom. And we're not measuring, we're not cutting, we're not trying to make something perfect. We are just simply trusting and letting go of the process here. Like, it's just fun, right? It can be so soothing. I will sit and tear a whole stack of paper, printables, just for the sake of doing it because I find it very relaxing. But then there's also the fear, of course, especially for creative souls like us who like to collect beautiful papers. And sometimes we hesitate to use those pretty papers. And then there's that little voice that says, what if I tear it wrong? What if I ruin it? So this is the moment where creativity and courage meet. Because once you tear it, it's changed forever. And that's actually, I would say, the beauty of it. The imperfection becomes part of the project or part of the story. So when we move past that hesitation and embrace that beautiful, soft, torn edge, like let's compare. Maybe this isn't the right paper to do it with. Maybe, can you see? Oh no, I think you can see that. The difference between this beautiful, soft, torn edge and this straight cut edge. Like this, in the vintage style of journals that I make, and I'm sure a lot of you do, I think this is the preferred right there. Actually, we can just see it on this piece alone. I'll try to zoom in here. So you've got this soft kind of flowy edge where this one's very crisp. That's, you know, that's why we love the torn edges so much. It's unpredictable, it's uneven, it brings a little bit of wildness back into our art. So it's not so much about the control, it's more about trust that when you tear something, it's going to look better. I know that's weird, right? And that's why I thought, why? It's why is it so satisfying? So I thought, well, let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to tear a little bit more here, and then we'll get like right into the nitty gritty. So the reason that tearing paper feels so good, here's the research I did. It's that mix of control and release. Control and release. So we take, it's like a tiny act. It's a tiny act of letting go. Isn't that, it's so simplified, but I read a bunch of different things, and that's kind of the summary of everything I was reading about why it's so satisfying to tear paper. It's a simple mix of control and then the tiny act of letting go. So we don't need to measure. We don't need perfection. It's just us, our hands, and that little moment of creative freedom. So for many of us, like if you're like me, over 50, and you're rediscovering your creative side, that feeling of permission to play is everything. Like it's been, like we talk about, you know, we've been talking a lot lately about slow crafting and the joy, the healing part, like the art as therapy, and how junk journaling fits into all of those categories for us. But I think junk journaling, more so than scrapbooking, I shouldn't say, I don't want to speak for scrapbookers because I'm not a scrapbooker, but this act of tearing and not measuring, I feel like junk journaling is the ultimate art therapy. I really do. I you know, obviously talk about it a lot, but all right, let's get some more of these ripped. We'll get that collage board going. Okay, so I'm doing some nice large pieces here, and I think I'll do, let's do one with the script. I think that would be a nice nice touch too. Okay, I think that's good. So let's grab our base. So I'm using avocado-dyed paper, and I'm using a glue stick. You can also use Mod Podge and paint on your glue, but it takes a while to dry. So I think that fear of also comes from, like, the joy is pretty obvious. I mean, it's very enjoyable to me to be ripping paper. And like we mentioned already about the imperfections and such, but the fear of ripping something like, oh, I might ruin it, or getting in trouble, Like this just takes me back to being a kid. Like it's just so fun. Have you ever sat your grandchild down with a pair of safe scissors and just let them have at it? Like they love cutting paper. There's just something about it, right? Now to tear paper though, they instantly stop and look at you like, oh, I wrecked it. You know, like you get that, am I in trouble? That kind of thing. And it's just like, no, as junk journal makers, that's what I mean. I think there's just something about it. I really think there's something very forgiving and satisfying about it. Like you have total permission to rip that. Go for it, girl. So I'm using nice big chunks here because I want to use these as backgrounds on my tags and such. Now I've done obviously collages with, I still have a little bit of a hang up about collage. So we did, for example, recently did a collage on envelopes and we used much smaller torn pieces. Let's do some of this maybe. I just want to go a different direction. So let's get a smaller one. Maybe this one. I'm just going to get rid of some of that. So here's where I might use this smaller little ruler like that. There we go. Put that right there. I bit the bullet yesterday and went to Staples and bought a pack of 12 of these. A while ago, I was lucky and found a bunch of them at a thrift store for $1 a piece. So I've been trying to find a deal like that since and have not. So let's maybe do... It's just, you know, a lot of this reminds me of your, you know, when I don't think of it until I see my granddaughters, especially the youngest right now, coming into my craft room and having permission to cut and paste and glue. Like she just absolutely loves it. Like, and it's like, oh yeah, that's that childish, not childish, but childhood reckless abandonment of not having and then they make a piece of art and they're so proud and they're so amazed at what they made, and we're so critical of ourselves. So it's so nice to see, and I think that we need to embrace that a little bit more in our creativity, is that creative freedom. Quit judging ourselves, lower the expectations of ourselves. Like there's things in my life where I could be a perfectionist about, and then there's other things that I just don't give a toot hooey about. Like just, that's a little bit more overlap than I wanted, but that's okay. And something down here, a little bit there. Do that, and then we'll trim our edges off. Okay, lovely. So then I still have these pieces here to add to pockets and whatever while we're going through our journal. Let's start with this. Now I would just maybe stick with the tearing and get a nice soft edge here. This, you start with the one that's the highest layer. That one might be a little hard. I might need to trim that one. Now when you have all these lovely torn edges on here, I see I've got a little bit of a lift. Oops, that's not gonna work, Kathy. Let's you can, because you've got the little bit of a edge there, once this is dry, I shouldn't do this right now, but once this is dry, you can kind of bend your paper back and ink along those edges if you like. You can also take your ruler like this and try to get that edge. Just get really close to it. You can also do that, or you could ink them before you lay them down, of course. There we go. Okay, now you can tear these as well if you want to get your journal cards with a torn edge, or you can trim them up so that you are, if you're measuring, for example. So I'm going to actually use my trimmer. It might come in this far. Maybe like in approximately 3 inches. Make some of these a little bigger than others. Like that. Quite like this one. Just a little bit smaller. I think that's going to be a lovely base for a tag to get started. So you can cut all multiple sizes, and like I think that is just lovely like that. So this helps pull your color theme through your journal by using the same papers that you have in your signatures. And then we'll add this to a plain background, either one of the lighter printables, the background pages I used, or a tea-dyed page. That's quite nice. And then you can add a sentiment or something to that as well. Let's make one into a tag. And then of course with the avocado-dyed paper on the back, you have all this great writing space. So that's a great journaling card. We took something with nice soft torn edges, we had fun ripping, and now we're going to add something with nice curved corners and add that, and then we can add something to that as well. Okay, this would also make a lovely tag. Pieces we can use on the front of pockets or on a tab. It's a larger one, that's kind of pretty. There's also these ones that we can cut down to size a little bit. That's nice, I really like that. Of course, there's a scallop. That's what I made yesterday. Yeah, so there's these kind of pocket things here you can add. You have to take this one and trim it down a little bit. I think I like the, or is it kind of disappearing? Okay, maybe I like this one. Or do I like the light ones? That's really pretty. I think I'll trim this one down. Make it a little more narrow. It's pretty, isn't it? Round those corners a little bit. Do the medium one. That is really pretty. So there's 2 for starters. And then what about this tag? I like the idea of doing one of these at the bottom, like a pocket. What are we for width? Oh, it's perfect width. Didn't plan that, but that works. And I'm going to make that a pocket at the bottom, and then we can tuck something into this one. Okay, let's work with that. I have an idea to take one of these from the kit and turn this into a pocket. So let me think here. Then see how that's sticking out there? So then I'll revisit these corners with it. That's cute. And then we'll glue that onto the journal card. Yeah, that's really pretty. And then we can still use this as a little pocket. Something to put in there. Maybe a couple tickets or something that would be cute in there. So let's get this glued on. That one on that journaling card. So we have made a little pocket there. Plus we still have this beautiful journaling card on the back. And then this one needs to be glued on. So these would be great in belly bands and our pockets and our tuck spots, our envelopes, different spots throughout here. That's pretty. I'm going to come through and decorate later on, but this would be the idea. That these can be further embellished like this, like this. And then of course you could add a sentiment or something across there. So pretty. Okay. And then of course this little tag has a pocket. So these are all floating items that we've created. We've made these 3 floating items. Oops, that was upside down. I should put my glasses back on. Okay, so there's that. So we made a collage board with our ripped. We had some fun tearing. Let's set those aside for a second. Now let's talk about the scary part. The tearing that took me years to get to. I did not do this for the first number of years making junk journals. This is a more recent addition to my technique, my junk journal tool belt, let's say, to attempt to get the same, you know, time worn look that we got with the torn papers. We're going to do it in a journal that's already assembled. I'd like to show you something. Can you see the difference? I'm about halfway through the journal. Can you see the difference between this half and this half? Especially like right here. This is more commercial looking. This is more handmade looking. There's more bumps and rips and things. So this is the look I'm going for with my vintage journals. A lot of my journals look like this, but as I get more confident and gain that courage in my craft here, I'm starting to do more of these ripped and torn edges, which we are going to demonstrate with our hands a little bit. But also what I want to show you is layering. So this page and this page used to be the same width as that page, but I tore them to get this layered look. There we go. So, and then some of these edges that were sharp, crisp edges, like with this printable here, are now like this. So again, we see layers, which gives dimension to our journals. It also gives us, it looks more authentic as an old book, let's say. So going this direction now, I've torn this page so that I've got layers going this way as well. Again, same thing, layers that way. But let's get through. So we have, see the 1, 2, 3, the layers there. That is what we're going to work on now. So this is the scary part, because you're like, I don't know if I can do that. Okay, so let's see, right here is where I left off, I think it looks like. So this is a printable. It's the center of a signature. This was a tip-in I added. We talked about that. And this is a nice straight edge. But immediately it looks like a printable to me because I see the straight edge. I want it to look a little more like this. A little more natural. This is probably the most... I did the most to this spread right here. And actually this I hinged in. So this was one piece of paper. I folded it in half and I hinged it on both sides like that. And then here's where I tried that decal ruler I showed you earlier. That's what that looks like. But yes, let's get through to this page here. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure what Ruby wants right now, but we'll see if I can figure her out in a minute. All right, so we have this printable with the nice crisp edges. So I'm going to show you hand tears and how we can make this look a little more old. Now keep in mind, on the other side, I have something glued here already. I have a little tuck spot made there. So I need to be careful what I do with this edge. This edge is free. All right, so let's perhaps start with this. I'm just going to turn it around because it's easier for me to reach this side. So one thing I like to do is hold this tight or taut and then just kind of pull back a little, back and forth, just so I can get a bit of that little bit of a bend. I haven't ripped anything yet. It's just a little bit of a bend. Might want to do that in a few spots. You can also hold it this way. Do it with your thumb. Now, as you're doing this, kind of roll back and forth a little bit, just kind of bending, manipulating the edge. You might get a small tear. Okay, now that to me is a very natural looking tear, and just leave it. It's just cute like that. And that's where I'm going to come in now with my ink. And when I ink that, it looks quite natural. Okay. Okay, now some of this where I already see I've got kind of a natural pull there. I'm just going to lay that down and just kind of roll that back with my finger. And then press it down, roll it back, press it down, roll it back. Ink again. And that is just a very natural look to the edge of your page that makes it look older. So let's compare. We now have this aged edge compared to this straight edge. Now don't forget the tops of your pages. I don't always ink every single page of my journal, but I just, because some of them are tea-dyed papers, they already have a nice aged edge, and some of the vintage papers I add, like the music sheets, already have that look. Now here's something we can do. This doesn't quite go to the top, so we can bend the corner back just the teeniest little bit, little pinch, push it back the other way, and then forward one more time. Give her a little squeeze. Okay, and then ink that up back and forth and back and forth, and then squeeze it, and then she looks natural. Now along this side, I just want to make it maybe a few little dents, and I'm using something not too sharp, but I am just kind of manipulating that edge again. Isn't quite a tear, but because it's kind of stiff from that cardstock, I can kind of push down as I'm rubbing back and forth. Ink it up. And then whatever naturally happened, now it looks a little more aged. Okay. This, I realize, can be the part where there might be a little bit of hesitation because you're afraid of wrecking your journal because it's already made. But I think if you go in small little bits, we're going to be okay. All right, now this is natural. That's how that came. I'm going to leave it. I love the warbled look of my tea-dyed paper, so I don't often tear those. But here we have a printable. On this side. So I think I like this layer right here. So I'm going to, if I tear it back to the line, just before that line, am I going to get enough of a layer? I think so. So you can fold your paper back a little bit and then decide where you want to tear, and take a deep breath and then just tear your paper. There we go. A little extra bump there, trim that off. So now we have that nice feathery edge, that torn edge, and we can see some layers. Now this one even looks like it's sticking out a little bit too far, so maybe I'll pull that one back a little bit. Not quite as far, just a little bit. Be a little harder to do. Once you get it going, it goes. There we go. A little bit right there I want to trim off. Okay, so now I can see this bird page I glued on. It was already naturally torn. I didn't do that. It was already like that. And now I've got that little bit of layering there. Now I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to do a few little micro tears. So just a quick little tiny little controlled little micro tear like that. I'm going to do another one down here. And then we'll do the foldy thing with the, you can just roll your corners also with your thumb, your finger, kind of get a look about it like this. Okay, to get that kind of rough edge. There's lots of different ways you can do this. Now the tops of your page too, don't forget, you can use a sharp object like scissors. You can also do this. But I find that I sometimes go a little too far, but just a little bit of a rough up there with the scissors can give you a really natural look to time-worn pages. Okay, so again, back and forth where we made that little micro tear. And then this funny little roundy round corner we did. And then we'll ink the bottom. There we go. Might want to ink this side too, and especially get our nice dark corners. This is an Edith Holden page, so I don't want to do too much to that. Just ink it up a bit. Okay, so just with inking, I just made a tiniest little micro tear. It wasn't on purpose, but it actually looks good. And then this printable, I definitely want to ink that up. Great. Okay, let's do some more tearing. This I already tore. Okay, so here is a nice finished printable, a sharp edge. But if I pull this back like that, wouldn't that be pretty to pick up the black from the music sheets to go with that flower? So now I know how far I want to pull that back after checking it and taking a look and seeing what I think. And don't forget to check the back side of your paper to see what it is you're tearing. But I've given myself a line there. Straighten that out a little, actually. We'll tear that. So this is the fear part. Like, you don't want to wreck it, but I'm telling you, once you gain some confidence in doing this, you know which creator I really like to watch for layering is 507 Willow House. I'm going to give her a tag because she, I think, will really inspire you to do some layering. I really think so. And she has the prettiest stuff to work with. Okay, so we've got this beautiful edge. Just kind of that tear look. It looks natural. And now we've got this beautiful layering. So this is where I want you to just try to gain a little confidence and just take, you know, a little bit at a time. Gently tear back some layers, and then suddenly you've got this beautiful kind of peek through effect. You can reveal hints of text, pattern, color. It just adds such depth and soul to your journal pages. It makes all the difference. To me, it elevates you to that next step in your junk journal creations. Okay, so this is beautiful here again. Okay, so if I want to see some layering like this, start with this page here. So let's see how far back you want to pull that. We're layering this way right now. Just a nice gentle tear. So now that's showing. And now I want to pull this one back, and I want the distance between this edge and this edge to be the same as this here. So that's why I like to fold them back and just get a good look. Maybe give myself a little line to follow. And then this we could bring over here as a tuck, to balance that page out, or we could add it somewhere else too. Be a page as something maybe over here as a tuck. That's nice opposite there as well. So hang on to these. But there we go. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that layering. Let's get you inked up. Now you don't have to do the micro tears with your hands on every single page, but this last one that just has the regular side, that's the one I think I'll add the little micro tears to. Don't worry too much about the top and bottom because we can do this, right? Kind of hit them all at the same time. You can also do it on your edges at the end, but so it's this one that I think I'll do the kind of the pullbacks and the rolling and the hold that back a bit. You can go the other direction as well. And I ended up with just a little micro tear there. A little tiny micro tear there. Okay, and then we'll ink that. A little bendy boo like that. See, it just, once you get some confidence in it, and you just go quicker and quicker and quicker. So now we have this look. And I just think that's so pretty. Now it's up to you. If you think, oh, I want a little bit more of a bend, maybe like that. Something small, maybe here to space them out a little bit. And also look for your blanks, your blank spaces there. It just looks a little more natural, and I love this layering look. And it's also fun when you're journaling because you have different sizes and not just the same page over and over and over again for your journaling. I might do a bend on this corner here. This is thicker paper, right? So yeah, maybe just something like that. Nothing crazy. There is a pocket. Oh, put that bird in there. No, put that one in there. Oh, it's pretty. Those both in there. Maybe that's really pretty. Quite like that. We shall see. Might be kind of fun clipped on there. Be a cute journaling card just even to slip in here. Oh, it's just a little bit too big. Okay. Well, I hope you get the idea, and I hope I really hope you try doing some layers like this and gaining some confidence to tear things into your journal. Okay, so one quick little tear, and then let's say we were to add this as a belly band, and then you add one of our journaling cards we just made. Maybe if I even like instantly look at the dimension you've added to your journal just by adding that. Okay, well, I hope that gives you some confidence in tearing your edges. I just know that sometimes we get so focused on creating finished pieces that we forget to enjoy the process. Well, thanks for hanging out with me in my craft room today. I thought it was a lot of fun to kind of delve into the psychological part of why tearing paper can be either such a fun thing to do or it can be very intimidating. So thanks for exploring that with me. I hope you add this technique. If it's something you've been afraid to try, I hope you add it to your journals to get those layers in there to help achieve that vintage look. And if you already enjoy tearing paper, well, I think that's wonderful. I'm so glad that you found that joy too. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video.